Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Board, and we got some breaking news that needs to be discussed. The Las Vegas Raiders, they have decided to waive cornerback Marcus Peters and also safety Roderic Teamer. So coming up here on today's show, we're going to get into all the news that you are looking for after the Raiders moved on from Peters, moved on from Roderic Teamer. I'm also going to give you guys some potential replacements that the Silver and Black could be looking at in the secondary because these were two players, Peters obviously being the more important one, but Teamer was also a guy that they were relying on for special teams and being able to add a little bit more depth there to the overall secondary. Now, to everybody who's tuned in right now, shout out to all of y'all. I know that game yesterday was a little bit rough. However, I do think that the Raiders are moving in the right direction. No penalties, which is a big-time thing. First time that the Raiders team has done that since 2000. Antonio Pierce is getting this team playing in the right direction, and I think one of the things that the Raiders are doing is they want guys that rock that shield with pride because Pierce, if he's going to go up there and he's going to talk about running through a wall and that people are going to sit up there and say, I want to run through a wall for Antonio Pierce, I don't want players in my locker room that are not hustling, not trying to tackle, and making all this money when simply it doesn't look like that you even give a shit. So should the Raiders have cut Marcus Peters? That's going to be the first one here. Give me a yes, give me a no. And I'm going to give some shout-outs here. Like I see Dante Waters says yes. Juan Hernandez, Queen Sarah Otto. I got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Carlos Sanchez, all spamming those Ys for yes. And I think most of the nation would argue and probably agree with the fact that when the Raiders signed Peters, it was, oh man, he's an Oakland native. He's going to be coming into this team. He's going to be a big-time boost to the secondary. And honestly, when you look at the numbers, Peters wasn't that bad as an overall coverage corner for a majority of the season. It just looked like the last few weeks, the effort wasn't there. The consistency of making business decisions, not trying to wrap up anybody, not trying to tackle anyone, it was what really, I think, led to the frustration from Antonio Pierce. Pierce and Peters had a conversation yesterday in the second quarter. Peters put his beanie on, decided to cry in the corner and not cheer on his teammates, which that's not why you signed Peters. You signed Peters to be a leader of this defense. Now the move is going to end up saving somewhere at like $1.5 million for the Raiders because of the way Peters' contract was instructed with incentives. So now you're going to have some of that extra money. Could the Raiders potentially go out and add a corner from the free agent market? A lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about here on the Raiders Report. But I see Cannon, I see JB, Brandon Jasper. Boy, oh boy, Brandon, do I have something funny that I got to show you. Brooklyn Envy. What up, Boom? What up, Carlos Sanchez? Appreciate all of y'all for tuning in to the Raiders Report today. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get into the breaking news here around Peters, around Roderic Teamer being released, and then what we're going to end up doing. And then what we're going to end up doing is continue to answer all your questions. So please use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat to get those questions, comments in the show right now. Now, our live sponsor is PrizePicks, so shout out to them for always hooking up the nation. And if anybody wants to get started on Monday Night Football tonight, Vikings, Bears, I'll show you my picks here in just a second. But PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. And all you got to do, man, pick 2+ players, choose more or less. And really, it's as simple as that. And I want you all to get started. And all you have to do is either go down in the comments or you can go down in the description. Get started by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, yesterday, my picks were so freaking close to hitting, I needed one more catch from Devontae Adams. He had 5 before halftime. He didn't get a single one the remainder of the game, which drives me nuts. My picks for tonight, though, Justin Fields, give me the more on 1.5 touchdowns, rushing or passing. DJ Moore, receptions, more, give me the 5 there. And then Jordan Addison, more with 4 receptions in this one. Life's too short to go less, especially if I'm going to be watching another team play on Monday Night Football. Again, easy, exciting, daily fantasy. Get started. My fiance Alex and I, we were playing PrizePicks all day during Thanksgiving. She actually was loving it. She even asked me on Friday during the Dolphins game if we could do it again, and also PrizePicks. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS. All right, man, do you still believe that the Raiders can make the playoffs? Type P for playoffs, type M for miss. And the reason why this question is important is because the Raiders now are entering their bye week. You got a Week 13 bye. You have 2 weeks to be able to go out and prepare for the Minnesota Vikings, who the Vikings, yes, they play on Monday Night Football tonight, They also, though, have a Week 13 bye, and then they're going to be playing you Week 14. The reason why this question is important is because if you're like, you know what, yeah, I still feel like we are a playoff caliber team, and if we get the right momentum going, because the Silver and Black still control their own destiny. Yeah, you might have to win out in order to get in, but I'm not the type of person that's just going to quit, and I don't think Antonio Pierce is either. So if you do think that you're a playoff caliber team, could you go out and potentially add some free agents? We'll talk about some of those guys coming up here in just a little bit, but I see Queen Sarah Otto says they can still make the playoffs. Abby says, nope, it's done. Raider just win, baby. Cloud says that they could still make the playoffs. Malcolm Scott. I'll tell you this. If you're saying that no, there's a 0% chance that the Silver and Black make it, I want you to look at the NFL playoff picture. I want you to look at the teams that are still in the hunt, and I want you to look at some of the situations that those teams are in, whether it be the Bengals with the quarterback situation. Maybe it's Houston not being as well prepared, the Cleveland Browns not having a starting quarterback. A lot of different questions that can go around. All I know is this, that until that fat lady starts singing, I'm always going to believe that the Raiders have a shot to make the playoffs. All right, y'all, so coming up here on the show, let's get into the news today that the Raiders moved on, not only from Marcus Peters, but also Roderic Teamer and some players on that roster that, let's just point blank say it, they need to step up for the Raiders to keep this thing going in the right direction with Antonio Pierce at the helm. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we got some breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders have waived Marcus Peters and Roderic Teamer Jr. So coming up here on today's show, I'm going to give you the latest news around the Silver and Black, why the Raiders decided to move on from Marcus Peters, what happened yesterday, plus the conversation that Antonio Pierce and Peters had today. On top of that, why the Raiders decided to move on from Roderic Teamer and which players on this current roster I'm going to be looking at, and I'm going to say, now's your time to shine. The nation needs you. The nation deserves better. It's time now for those players to step up. I'll give you some names here in just a second, but this is exactly why you subscribe. I know that Raiders-Chiefs yesterday was a little bit of a frustrating game because of how well the Raiders started and how bad the game ended, but you know what? We built an amazing family here on this show, and I'm going to continue to make videos every single day, put out the content, because to me, there is no days off amongst the nation. If you're going to have commitment to excellence, if you're going to be a fan base that prides itself the way that the nation does, that's what this thing is all about. Continually to grow this Raiders family, because the reason why Marcus Peters was released is because he stopped repping that shield with pride. So we're 81 away from 156,000 subs. If you watch this show and you're like, you know what? I'm a Raider for life. Hit that subscribe button. So let's get in now to the latest here around Peters. And there were rumors that started circulating late last night from the Athletics' Vic Tafur that the Silver and Black were thinking about moving on from their veteran corner in Peters. This morning, I woke up bright and early, took Chuck for a walk, and I got a ping on my phone that said, oh, wait a minute, the Raiders are potentially going to be releasing Marcus. So then what did I do? Made a video bright and early this morning about it, and now today it is officially official. Antonio Pierce spoke to the media today and said that, you know, they had a good conversation in terms of what was going to happen. Peters seemed to be okay with it. But yesterday, you know, Pierce and Peters had a little bit of a, we'll call it an argument, a misunderstanding on the sidelines where Peters didn't give the effort that he was supposed to give. Antonio Pierce point blank called him out on it. Peters didn't like the fact that Antonio Pierce was calling him out on it. So then Peters was like, all right, I'm going to pout. Pierce then said, well, why don't you sit your ass right here on the bench and we're going to let other people go out there and play? Because he was benched for the second quarter. He was benched for the entirety of the game then after the first half, and he just sat there with his beanie on and he pouted. But here was the report that came in from Vic Tafur on Peters, and this was earlier, I guess technically like late in the AM hours after the Raiders game. Pierce benched cornerback Marcus Peters midway through the second quarter after the latest ole on a tackle attempt by the veteran. The two had a brief exchange on the sideline at halftime before Pierce walked away, and Peters watched the second half by himself wearing a beanie. One of the things that drives me up a freaking wall is when a player, especially a veteran, especially a player that the nation was just overly excited for when they brought him in, because Marcus Peters is a Raider, right? Well, to me, a Raider is not somebody that's going to sit there and act like a baby back, you-know-what, crying on the sidelines when, I'm sorry, if your effort's not there, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your name is. If your effort is not going to be on display when you're making millions of dollars, yeah, that's going to hit me in the wrong spot. And I think Antonio Pierce had set him off too, because he's like, man, if I'm trying to preach that this is going to be a team ran by players, going to be a team that goes out there and they're going to play their asses off every single time, and yet Marcus Peters is making business decisions. I mean, like, let's keep it real here. There's a joke going on amongst the nation that Peters is the worst tackler out there. Hell, there's a video right now of some kid in high school totally failing to make a tackle, and the amount of Marcus Peters school of tackling shit that's out there. We knew this was not a surprise. But the fact that Peters stopped caring and the fact that Peters stopped trying, that's why he was released by the Las Vegas Raiders. And here I also thought this was kind of interesting because Tafer mentions this, and, it was reported by multiple people, multiple Raiders beat writers. Peters was almost cut earlier this season, according to team and league sources, and is not expected back when the team returns from its bye. Well, now we know that for a fact he's not going to be returning with the team, but this has been a topic of discussion for multiple weeks, and I almost wonder if I could put my finger right on it, because you look at the last 3 weeks, the amount of business decisions that Marcus Peters was making, it was tough, man. It's frustrating because the nation wanted Marcus Peters to work. Because if you can't get somebody who's Oakland-born, whose family is a bunch of Raider fans, if that guy, when he puts on that jersey, isn't motivated enough to give 110%, I think that's honestly why I'm the most disappointed in Marcus Peters and his actions over the past few games. So here's my question to you, because right now the Raiders' cornerback room it's a little scarce. Like, let's keep it a buck here, right? Like, it's not where you want it to be. Peters was signed to be not just the number 2 corner. He was basically signed to be the number 1 outside corner. The Raiders are 5-7. You're entering the bye. Should the Raiders have cut him? Yes or no? I want to know from everybody who tunes in. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So you're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and give me your answer. My answer is yes. If Marcus Peters is 100% healthy, my answer to this is yes. If you're not going to give effort, I don't want you out on the football field. And I do believe that's one of the biggest reasons why this ended up going down. And I'm watching this live video right now, and it is a unanimous yeses across the board. Hell, we got 800 people right now spamming yes. I see Hanzo, Michael, Nebraska, Senior Steve. My opinion was this. If Marcus Peters is 100% healthy, then yes, because his effort is so disgraceful. He doesn't deserve to wear a Raiders jersey. Antonio Pierce won't take half-hearted effort, and neither should Raider Nation, because we deserve better. So that was the first player that was released by the Silver and Black here on Monday after the Raiders' 31-17 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'll tell you which players that I'm really going to be looking at for the Silver and Black to step up here, some of the players on the depth chart, after I tell you a little bit about our awesome sponsor here, PrizePicks. And anybody out there that's like, you know what, Mitch, why should I do PrizePicks? My honest answer is, it's a hell of a time. Like, you can sit down, you can watch any game. The perfect example is tonight, Monday Night Football. Raiders aren't playing. If you were to put down $10, $20 on this game tonight, because PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy, where all you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a $100 deposit match. But let's just say you want to put down $10, maybe $20. For me, example, my picks for tonight's game. I put down $20, and if all 3 of these hit, I can win $100. And guess what? I like money. And the best thing that I can always tell people is, imagine in today's day and age where I told you for the 3 hours, all it's going to take is for you to put down $20, and you're going to be locked in and entertained. $20 for 3 hours. That's a great deal with a chance to win 100. What do you got for me?
And Mitch, today's the day to do it because they have a Cyber Monday deal going on today. So if you want to get even more money, usually you can 25 extra money. Today for Monday Night Football for Cyber Monday, you can 30 extra money with PrizePicks.
That's
so
insane.
Today's the day to do it.
Dude, I mean, Justin Fields, give me the more on 1.5 touchdowns. DJ Moore, 5 receptions. Jordan Addison, 4 receptions. And I'm probably going to put in multiple picks because, as Jeremy said, they're doing a Cyber Monday deal. So if you want to get started, today might be the best day of the year to do it. It's easy and exciting daily fantasy. Again, that link's going to be available to you guys down in the comments and down in the description. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring the Raiders Report. All right, with the Silver and Black moving on from Marcus Peters, let's look at that cornerback room because somebody's got to step up. And a lot of eyes, to me personally, are going to be on Nate Hobbs because when you look at the numbers by Nate Hobbs over the past 2 weeks, Hobbs has really struggled. He's been targeted 19 times, and he's given up 18 receptions. Like, Hobbs needs to get his shit together over the past 2 weeks because he has struggled. But the reason why you move on from Marcus Peters, in my personal opinion, is because there's a part that might want to put him as an outside corner. What I get worried about is, do you just keep him in the slot? Because we have already seen Nate Hobbs on the inside is a much better corner than when they put him on the outside. When they put him on the outside, he's a different dude. And if you're not confident in your ability, maybe it's smart to put him in the slot. However, though, if Nate Hobbs can get it, like I said, together, maybe you put him as an outside corner. Then you leave Amik Robertson also as an outside corner because he might be your best outside guy on the team right now. There's no doubt. I shouldn't say there's no doubt about it. He might be the best outside corner you have on your team. And shout out to Amik Robertson for saying what he did, where, I don't know if you guys didn't see it, he said that he thought that the Raiders were the more talented team, and they might be the more talented team from top to bottom. The biggest difference in yesterday's game was Patrick Mahomes. Like, one team had Patrick Mahomes, the other team didn't. And when Mahomes got hot, they couldn't do anything about it, despite, I think the coaching staff did an okay job because they were trying to get players in the right spots. Just the underneath routes were just, Mahomes got hot, man. I don't really know what else to say besides that. To me, though, there are certain corners on this team that they need to step up. The guy that might get the biggest opportunity is going to be Jack Jones. I mean, the Raiders signed him. I guess I should say claimed him. Last week, he's got a great relationship with Antonio Pierce. Has known him since he was 13 years old. Played with him in high school. Played with him at Arizona State. Now he gets another opportunity here. The biggest person that benefits from Marcus Peters getting moved on from is Jack Jones. Another player that needs to step up is Shakorian Bennett. And at the Monday press conference, Antonio Pierce had nothing but actually very nice things to say about Bennett, calling him a sponge, saying that he's continually trying to learn the position. And as a rookie, you're going to experience those ups and downs. Unfortunately for Bennett, he's experienced a little bit more of the downside of the roller coaster ride. I'm hoping, though, with a little bit of proper coaching, a little bit of proper motivation, Shakorian can achieve it. Here's where it's going to get interesting, though, because Tyler Hall's not getting nearly enough respect that he deserves. Hall's been playing pretty damn well. He goes out there and he competes. And I want a guy that goes out there and competes on a daily freaking basis. And what the Raiders could potentially do is they could put Tyler Hall in at the slot. You leave Amik Robertson as your outside corner, and then you roll with Nate Hobbs as an outside corner. That's option B. What I think option A is going to end up being is Jack Jones as an outside corner, Amik Robertson as an outside guy, and then keeping Nate Hobbs in the slot. It's going to be interesting, though. One of the other players that I'm just kind of waiting on is Brandon Faison. Like, is he on the team? Somebody asked me this the other day, and I take a lot of pride in knowing this team inside and out. I have no idea what's going on with Brandon Faison. He got hurt in August. He's been on the IR, and he's just been on the IR, and I feel like nobody's asking about him. He was signed to this team to be an outside corner. Well, if he's healthy, now's your time to get out there on the field. If Brandon Faison still at this point can't get on the field, I don't know what we're doing. Thanks, McDaniels. Thank you, Dave Ziegler. Other players, though, to keep an eye on are practice squad corners. Sam Webb, I'm looking at him because, to me, he's your best practice squad corner, in my opinion. Troy Pride Jr. and Cornell Armstrong. When your team decides to move on from your number one corner because the effort that he's been putting on the field is shit, and honestly can be considered a cancer in that locker room, it's going to be an all-out party of, it's time for people to step up. You know, we always hear the term running back by committee. Hell, the Raiders might find themselves in a cornerback by committee. So here's my next question after seeing some of those players. Which player needs to step up the most? Like, which dude out of all those corners are you like, Mitch, this is the guy that needs to be able to take it to that next level? Who's the player that says, you know what, I need to step up the most? I'm going to be looking at what you guys have to say down below. Now, what I want to do here is this. I want to talk about Roderic Teamer a little bit because it wasn't only Marcus Peters who was released. Roderic Teamer also was released today, Monday. And for those of you that don't know, I made a short right before the Raiders game against the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday. And for those that don't know, Teamer was arrested Sunday morning with a DUI. He was caught speeding, and that's what then led to the DUI. And it's frustrating because he was just activated off the IR. He's played in only 6 games this season. He's not a great player. He's a special teams guy. He's a depth player in that secondary. But Teamer, though he was released from custody Sunday morning, it's sad because you're throwing away a great opportunity. And I'm going to be honest with you, Roderic Teamer, I'm happy they're cutting him because dude doesn't deserve to wear a Raiders jersey. This is what the Raiders had to say yesterday on the incident. The Raiders are aware of an incident involving Roderic Teamer last night. The club is in the process of gathering more information and will have no further comment at this time. This was a statement that was released on Sunday. The statement that's been released today is that, yeah, they're cutting his ass because he deserves to be cut. Because to me, how on earth, and this is just a God-honest question because, I literally feel like my dad here looking at me goes, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. I am mad, and I am disappointed. Why is Roderic Teamer getting drunk the night before the biggest game of the season against the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, the Raiders need a zero-tolerance policy for guys that are going to get DUIs after the Henry Ruggs incident. Like, how do you make millions of dollars and not call an Uber or a Lyft? There's no excuses. How do you make the honest decision knowing what this team went through? Not only what this team went through, what Tina Tinter's family went through with the whole Henry Ruggs situation, and yet you're still going to make the decision as an adult to hop in your car and drive. Sure, you might not have been drunk, but you were still over the legal limit, and to me, I just have no excuse for that. Get an Uber, get a Lyft. Time to grow up, and I'm glad that the Raiders decided to make these two moves today because if you have a cancer in the locker room and Marcus Peters who's not going to show effort, and then you got another guy out there in Roderic Teamer that obviously is incapable of making grown decisions, you don't want those two guys on your team. So the Raiders today did two very good things because if you're going to have commitment to excellence, if you're going to pride yourself on being able to build a good locker room and not only build a team with good players, but good men as leaders that can lead on and off the field. These were two moves that simply needed to be had. So other players now that need to be able to step up here and keep it going because Teamer, again, not that big of a name. Obviously, you're going to be leaning very, very heavily on Marcus Epps and very, very heavily on Trevon Merrick. But to me, Isaiah Palomeo, you're going to have to be looking at him. He's going to get some opportunities here to go out there and play a little bit. And then also your rookie, Christopher Smith. I don't know what to expect from any of the rookies because they're all McDaniels and Ziegler guys, and they have not played very solid football. Maybe the Raiders decide to look at their practice squad and Jaden Grant. Personally, for me, that's a hard pass because he is on the practice squad for a reason. But ultimately, with the thing that happened to Roderic Teamer, it's going to hurt the Raiders more from a special team standpoint than it will from a safety standpoint because of how good Epps and Merrick have both been this season. And maybe a few times with rotation, you're going to have to get some new names in there, like an Isaiah Palomeo, maybe like a Chris Smith. Or if you're the Raiders, do you just roll with the extra corners out there, right? Like Tyler Hall has some safety experience. Like, do you decide to put Nate Hobbs as a potential safety if you need him in a spot? The Raiders have some different things that they can do. I'm curious to see what Patrick Graham has in store. I will say this, though. With Marcus Peters and Roderic Teamer both getting cut today, the Raiders' bye week could not have come at a better time. Here's my next question, though. Do the Raiders need to sign a safety, type S for sign, type P for pass? And just to be real with y'all, depending on how you answer this question is going to determine what type of videos I make, because usually when a player gets cut, just being real with y'all, Marcus Peters replacements. And for those of you that are watching this live, you're going to get some Marcus Peters free agent replacements. However, I don't know if I should do a Roderic Teamer replacements video. Do we need another safety? If you want one, guess what? I got the hookup. I'll be making a video, maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow when we go live here on the Raiders Report. Obviously, if any other Raiders news or rumors happen, I always do my best to keep you guys up to date. Hell, we got over 1,000 people that are watching this live, and I guarantee you not all 1,000 people are following me on Twitter. Follow me on IG. If you're like, Mitch, I like what you do on YouTube, guess what? I'll put out even more content on Instagram, put out even more content on Twitter because my job here is, it's Mitchell Renz 365 for a reason. So I'm putting in that work 365 days out of the year because to me, that's what the nation deserves, and that's the only true way that you're going to get that ultimate goal, commitment to excellence. All right, y'all, do the Raiders need to sign a safety? Type S for sign, type P for pass. Let me see what you guys have. What up, Cloud? Hey, bro, you got it. Cloud says he wants Shaq Leonard. I mean, that would be interesting. I don't really see how that helps us right now, but maybe it helps out the linebacker room. I mean, it definitely would help out the linebacker room. What do we got here? The Acmade says sign, Ed Robbins, pass. Cloud, sign. Jay Silk, what up, Jay Silk? Says pass. Patrick says pass. Diehard Raider fan 365. Go out and sign him. Ian Padilla says sign and pass. Fair enough. So, man, we got 1,000 people tuned in right now. And the way that we usually do our Monday shows is we're going to sit here. We're going to interact with the nation. If anybody has any questions or comments that they want to get on the show, super chat to skip the line, or you can use hashtag Raiders to get those flowing in, and we're going to continue to answer all of them. Then coming up here in a little bit, we will get into some Marcus Peters replacements, because that was the whole objective of today's show, was to I knew that Peters was going to get released, so we already started the plan for a Marcus Peters replacement video. So we'll still hit on all that. On top of that, we will do a duck race today, because why the hell not? $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 for a chance to win a little bit of money. That'll be at the end of today's show, which is yesterday. We gave away $1,140, and then I want to say we gave away like $240. So you got a chance to win some money. I don't know about you during the holidays. If I can win a few extra bucks watching a YouTube show, I'm on board for that, no doubt. What up, D-Dugs? Patrick B. for Super Chat. Shout out to Mount Raidermore, always showing love, always showing out here in the building. What's up, Patrick B? Hopefully you had an amazing Thanksgiving, my guy. And then Brandon Jasper. Brandon, I saw you were in here earlier. Are you back? Like, are you still here? Because, Brandon, I got a really important question to ask you. Got a really, really important question to ask you. Patrick B., let the young, hungry guys get snaps. Been waiting on Chris Smith all season. Isaiah Polameo needs to turn it up. It's their shot to be household names. I mean, if it's me, I'm also going to give the rookies some playing time. Like, why not? If you're Antonio Pierce, if you're this coaching staff, you have to see what you have going, right? Like, you got to see what you got going on with some of these younger players, because Jacorian Bennett, healthy scratch. Nesta Jade Silvera, healthy scratch. Byron Young, healthy scratch. Amari Burney, healthy scratch. Like, you got to figure out what you got in some of these guys that were drafted by Ziegler and drafted by McDaniels. And if they don't fit your mold, you got to be ready to move on, because this next upcoming season for the Raiders, I've been doing this show since 2018 at this point. This upcoming offseason is the biggest offseason for the Raiders that I have ever covered. You got to figure out what you're going to do at head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, quarterback, defense, offense. I mean, you have so many free agents. It's going to look like a totally, totally different team. Let's go to Suicide Guns. Any word on Marcus Epps? Unfortunately, I do not have a word on Marcus Epps. Remember, he was dealing with a neck injury against the Miami Dolphins, which is one of the reasons why he left that game early. And then it also looks like he's dealing with a neck injury here, which I'm hoping he's okay, because I'll tell you this right now. If you lose Marcus Epps in that secondary, on top of losing Marcus Peters, I have a lot of confidence in Trevon Merrick to do his thing. But, like, man, oh, man, if Epps is actually going to be missing some time, again, you get 2 weeks to be able to get fully healthy. I'm hoping that's what it is, because when he left the game against the Dolphins, it was reported as just being a stinger. If Epps can't play, if you're the Raiders and you don't go out and you don't add a safety, I'd be pretty freaking frustrated. Next one coming in here from Brandon Jasper. Mitch, locals, and locals for the best content, personal interactions, and more live shows. Shout out to Patrick B. So, Brandon, I'm just going to ask you this question, and you guys have seen how many jerseys we have rocked on this show before. Brandon, I finally got your number 18 jersey. Here's the problem. They did something to the jersey that they've never done before. So I'm going to ask you if you want to be the only person to have this type of jersey, or if you want me to get a brand new one. And I wanted your honest opinion. So I don't know how they effed it up. I don't know what they did. But here you go. I know it's red. I'll tell you this right now. It kind of pops. But I also know you guys don't like the color red for the Chiefs for obvious reasons. So, Brandon, if you want to have the only jersey that has red lettering on it, you can have it. If not, I'll send it back.
Honestly, that looks more like a Giants red.
I don't know. I mean, this is like major Raiders news on a thumbnail.
Husker said red for Nebraska.
Ed says keep it.
It looks like a Cornhusker red.
I don't know what to think of the red. See, Marshall says it's Raider blood red, but that's just because his shoes match it. I don't know. What do you guys think, man? Do we keep it? I know a lot of y'all are saying no red. It's up to Brandon Jasper. Brandon, if you want it, we'll keep it. What? The Robelli jersey. That's funny as hell. Blue Richard says, send it back. Brandon, you get the pick, man.
I feel like this is like whenever you're at a baseball game and the opposing team hits a home run and you catch it in the stands, and everybody's like, throw it back, throw it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if Brandon wants me to keep it, because I'm also this type of guy where if I know I have the only one, I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. But I also am like, I know how Raider fans are with jerseys, and if they get upset over having a black helmet, I don't even want to know what they would think of having red on the back. I literally don't know how Nike did it.
They just did it.
Yeah, they just did it. That's funny. I mean, I will say, though, we've had now probably over 100 jerseys made. 99% of the time, it works every time. I don't know, man. All right, let's go to Jersey Boy Greaser. Polomeo might be better than Epps, just a feeling. I mean, he's not better than Epps right now. Like, maybe at some point in his career, he ends up being a better safety overall. But if I'm being 100% honest with y'all, like, no, I do not anticipate that Isaiah Polomeo is going to be a better overall safety than Marcus Epps at the end of their careers. Like, Epps, to me, is one of the more underrated players to this defense, where he takes away the deep ball. He can come up and he can play box safety. Like, Marcus Epps is the safety I think that the Raiders thought that they were going to get when they drafted Jonathan Abram. Yeah, Abram can still lay the wood, and Epps is not quite of the hard hitter that Abram is, but Epps does a lot of things really, really well. Like, I don't know if he does anything phenomenal. Like, I don't know if he does anything great, but he does so many things so well that that's what makes him a viable asset, especially on the defensive side of the football, especially in today's day and age, especially with a defensive coordinator like a Patrick Graham. Let's go to Raiders Sancho. What up, Sancho? I know I finally got, and Sancho won the jersey last night. He actually just messaged me. He just messaged me on Instagram. Also, Sancho, I'm going to be wearing this one a little bit later on today. So shout out to Sancho and Michaela. Those are the two people that are pictured there in that one. Chuck is on the bottom. I had the opportunity to meet them for dinner. Sancho, you could tell the story if you want down in the comments. Long story short, his daughter, Michaela, went through a life-threatening illness. I don't remember exactly what it was. I want to say it was like appendix. Yeah, for the next cut, I'll have to change. But she's an absolute warrior, and shout out to, Dad for raising her right. You're okay. I got 850 people here. What is up to the entire nation? Much love to all y'all for taking time out of your day to tune in to the show. And yes, we do have some breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders have cut Marcus Peters and safety Roderic Teamer. So the Teamer one, I'm not really surprised in. The Marcus Peters one, after hearing the report, not really surprised in that one either, which then kind of puts me to this question, because, if you're going to move on from a starting caliber player, which, let's face it, Marcus Peters is a starting caliber player, if you don't want to, then, you're moving on from Teamer, who's more of just a depth player, there's that option as well. My question is this. What's your confidence level now in the secondary? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident at all. 10, you're super, super confident.
I'm going to get some hate. It's about a 5.
It's a 5? I mean, with the injuries that are starting to rack up and the performance that the Raiders gave yesterday against Kansas City, I am a little bit more nervous. Like, I'm not lying to y'all. Like, I really, truly am. I'm probably at a 6. I'm at a 6. I want it to be a lot better. I know the Raiders have certain players, but I also saw last season that Patrick Graham's defense from weeks 11 to 16 was one of the best defenses, and according to stats, if you like them, the Raiders defense last season was giving up 18.3 points per game from weeks 11 to 16. It looked like that they were getting their shit together. Then all the injuries happened, and then they got exposed. What I don't want to happen this season is the Raiders defense has played as well as anybody ever expected. And now if injuries start to set in, what does that defense look like?
Hey, Mitch.
Yeah?
How about I give some shout-outs while you change?
I think that sounds pretty good.
Let's see. Pat says 6, Cloud 5, Michael 6, Back It Up says 3, Hardcastle 2, Santiago says 5, I have a lovely bunch of coconuts, says 6. Victor Navarro says 6. Cali Raider 4. Okay, I was worried that y'all were going to come after me for saying 5, but I think that's the consensus. I see a lot of 6s, a lot of 4s, and then some 5s. So I'm guessing that means everybody's at around a 5. Like, just with the injuries, Nate Hobbs, let me say this, though. Me and Mitch both said it yesterday during the live show. Nate Hobbs may have had his best game of the year in the first quarter yesterday.
Oh, I thought Nate Hobbs played really, really well in the first quarter.
Nate Hobbs was an all-pro in the first quarter.
And then it went really bad really quick. I mean, and that's kind of been the problem with Nate at times, where there's certain times you watch him play and you're like, this guy is one of the best corners in the NFL. And then Kansas City made an adjustment. Nate Hobbs failed to make the adjustment of covering the underneath routes. And then for the second, third, and fourth quarter, I mean, Hobbs just got ripped apart. I mean, his passer rating against him yesterday was 158.3. That's a perfect rating against him. Like, it was a rough game, but that's what makes Kansas City great. Kansas City puts players in tough positions like Robert's playing. He's been great the entire season. His passer rating against him yesterday was 157. Like, Kansas City made adjustments. The Raiders failed to do so. That's why they lost that game yesterday. And then this one coming in here from Brandon Jasper. Keep it because I got for Kristen, and she's a huge Cornhusker fan. And I agree with Husker Raider. We still need to get that beer Husker. I'll tell you this right now, then. That's probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Because now that you say that, I do remember that you got the jersey for Kristen. I almost feel like that's like fate.
I actually put it in the notes, Cornhusker fan.
Oh, man. I mean, that's kind of wild, Brandon. That's kind of wild. I'm not going to lie.
Whenever I think of Cornhuskers, all I think of
is Husker Raider now. I really do.
Oh, well, yes. But also that scene from that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, where he goes to the Nebraska game and he's fully decked out half white, half red with a corn hat on, and he's like...
I also like the idea from Queen Sarah Otto, wear it on the Christmas game. I think it's a good idea.
I don't hate it.
I'm going to wear it on the Christmas game. Y'all just got to remind me then. Y'all just got to remind me. Oh, boy.
James.
What up, James? First time. Keep staff. Yikes. Grab Penix. Or do you want to read it?
Keep staff and grab Penix and get more D.
In the draft. No, I mean.
All you got to do is grab the Penix and then get more D.
You're so dumb. But I knew you would enjoy reading that. I mean, here's the thing, James. Antonio Pierce is doing the right things still to be in consideration for head coach. Like the fact that have the Raiders gotten better from Antonio Pierce to Josh McDaniels? The answer to that is yes.
Wow.
Also, yesterday, the Raiders didn't commit a single turnover, and they also didn't commit a single penalty. That's a win.
Don't mean to cut you off, but this is a real full circle moment, which I didn't even remember or realize. Raider Sancho said Tuna actually donated Michaela's jersey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Full circle.
The great Brandon Jasper went on an absolute...
There's no corners. It never ends.
Tirade in the beginning of the season here. He was like Santa. Just, you want a jersey? He was Oprah. You get a jersey. You get a jersey.
It was Santa Jasper.
Santa Jasper. I like it. And, yes, now we have the Michaela and we got the Sancho jersey. So shout out to one of the GOATs here in the chat, Brandon Jasper. But I don't think that they're going to keep the staff.
Shout out to my boy Jay Silk. He's in the chat. I was wearing a shirt yesterday.
I don't think that they're going to. I mean, you're going to hire a brand new OC. You might even hire a brand new defensive coordinator because that's a lot of times what head coaches want to do. But to me, it's too early to say what type of quarterback you're going to get because depending on what type of head coach you decide to bring in, that's going to decide what type of offense you're going to run. Like, the amount of unknowns going into next season is just so substantial for the Raiders that you got to find the right head coach, and then we'll go from there. Let's go to Ruthless Raider. What's up, man? I missed the story on Epps. What's up with him? So he left yesterday's game with it's being reported as a neck stinger. Same thing that he left the game with on
it looked
against
like
the
he
Dolphins.
popped his shoulder out of socket.
Sure. I think he dislocated his shoulder. However, they're just reporting that it's a neck stinger, which I don't know if it's 100% accurate. All I know is that Epps left the game against the Dolphins with a neck injury. And then yesterday when Epps made that hit, I remember you and I both were like, oh, man, I think he popped his shoulder out. But from what I understand right now, they're reporting it as a stinger, which, again, I don't know how accurate that is. What? What?
This tweet that Martin tagged us in.
Martin? Yeah, you never know what you're going to get with Martin. Oh, my goodness. That's unbelievable. You honestly should put that up on the show. That's low-key hilarious.
Oh, okay. Well, I can do the picture. Hold on.
All right, Martin just tweeted a picture at Jeremy and I, and I'm telling y'all right now, if you need a good laugh and if you want to steal this joke, I encourage you all to do so. My real question is, which one's Wild One? Which one's Brandon? I think I know which one's Zahn. He's got the Bud Light between his butt cheeks. Oh, dude, I'm telling you right now, you guys freaking kill me sometimes. Even after a game where the Raiders lose, y'all can make me laugh.
The description with this one is, this is what Mount Raidermore looks like from the Canadian side.
I've never seen this. My question is, though, which one's Brandon?
Which one's Patrick?
Oh, yeah, Patrick. Which one do you think you are? I mean, the one guy, I'm trying to figure out where the feet go. I'll tell you what, though, but that's why I love Martin. That's why I love interacting with the nation. Y'all make me laugh every single day, man. You really do. Y'all make me laugh every single day. I'm stealing that. I'm using that so many other ways. Giggity. Yikes. Oh, dude. Patrick B., which one are you?
Sorry.
Speaking of Patrick B., we need to name a head coach. If this is the way the team is heading, it needs to stay the course. Again, you're not going to name a head coach until after the season, man. Like, I know that people, I still want Antonio Pierce to be the head coach. Like, I want Antonio Pierce to be the guy because the way he talks, the way he's a leader, and you can see that he's getting them to do the right things. I will admit, he simply got out-coached yesterday where Andy Reid and that team was able to make the proper adjustments compared to the Raiders where they failed to do so. But he is doing the right things. You're just not going to name somebody until after the season. I mean, I'll say this because today the Carolina Panthers, they fired their head coach in Frank Reich.
Yeah.
You know, what's a better job, Raiders or Carolina? I would say the Raiders' job. Carolina might be one of the worst jobs to have in the NFL because they have no draft capital.
Well, I was going to say it depends on what you think of Bryce Young.
Sure.
If you think Bryce Young can be a franchise QB, it might be a better job than the Raiders. Because the Raiders, I think a lot more people think Bryce Young can be a franchise QB rather than AOC. But then again, also, the Raiders have draft capital, so maybe you want to go to the Raiders because then you can choose your quarterback.
Yeah.
You're not stuck with Bryce Young.
I think the other coach that's going to get fired at the end of the season is going to be Brandon Staley. And whether you like to hear this or not, the Chargers' job is a better job right now than the Raiders' job because they have Justin Herbert. And whoever the top coaching candidate is, they're going to go to the Chargers.
I was talking with our Sperry, and he was telling me he is, I want to say he's like 75, 80% sure that Ben Johnson is the new head coach of the Chargers.
I mean, if you're Ben Johnson, you're a young offensive-minded coach, why would you not want to go coach Justin Herbert and the Chargers? Like, I 100% get it. My problem is, though, I don't know if Ben Johnson, he might be the best offensive-minded candidate, but if you're the Raiders, do you look to go defensive-minded? Like, because to me...
Well, they tried that before with Anthony Lynn, and that didn't work.
Who, the Chargers?
Yeah.
I'm talking Raiders.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I got you. Because my point was, like, Dan Quinn, probably a more qualified guy than somebody like Ben Johnson. However, if you have Justin Herbert, maybe you decide to go with an offensive-minded guy.
If Ben Johnson takes that job, I wonder what happens to Kellen Moore.
True.
Because it's not like the Chargers' offense has been awful this year.
I mean, I don't think that their offense has been the problem. I think it's the overall team. I mean, that team, good teams find a way to win. Whether you like to say it, people make excuses about the Eagles all they want. That team finds ways to win.
Yeah.
The Chargers right now are finding ways to lose. And that's what's frustrating. Just like McDaniels, he always found a way to lose. What up, Ethan? What are some solid free agents for 2024? Ethan, I think it's a great question, man. I'm just being real with y'all. I have not done much homework in terms of top free agents. I'll do a quick Google search right here. because the top free agents, and this is according to PFF, okay? Because, again, the way that I like to do this show is I'll keep it in the season, and then as soon as the season's over is when I'll start to look at a lot more free agents. But I don't just look at free agents based on how good they are now. I try to figure it out, all right, who's going to be the best fit for the Las Vegas Raiders, because that kind of stuff can go a far way. On the offensive side of the football, your top quarterback is Kirk Cousins. And then you got Josh Dobbs, Ryan Tannehill, Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield. Running back position is loaded again. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, some of the top names there. At center, Connor Williams, Andre James, Lloyd Cushenberry. At guard, Kevin Zeitler, Robert Hunt, John Runyon, Kevin Dotson. Offensive tackles, Tyrone Smith, Trent Brown, Trent Brown. Mekhi Becton, Jonah Williams, some names. Tight end, Dalton Schultz, Noah Fant, Hunter Henry. Receiver, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley. On defense, Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins, Leonard Williams, Justin, can never pronounce his last name, Matabuke, Grover Stewart.
Oh, that's Tyler's favorite player.
Yep, I know. That's why I started laughing.
Matabuke.
Josh Allen, Brian Burns, Daniil Hunter, Chase Young, Bryce Huff, all as your edges. Linebacker, Levanta David, Frankie Louvu, Jordan Brooks, Bobby Wagner, Aziz Al-Shair, Devin White, Patrick Queen. Yes. A lot of good linebackers. And then corner, where I think the Raiders need to look, because right now corner is where they're struggling.
Blake Cashman, too, for the Texans as a free agent.
Jalen Johnson, L'Jarius Sneed, Kendall Fuller, Chidobe Awuzie, Kenny Moore, Stephon Gilmore. And then at safety, Antoine Winfield, Kyle Duggar, Cameron Curl, Julian Blackman, Grant Delpit, Xavier McKinney, Jordan Whitehead. To me, I just went through that list. A lot of good defensive players.
Linebacker, corner, and safety, a good amount of free agents next year.
And your Raiders hopefully have some money to spend. Let's go to Cali Raider. So who has to step up as the new number one corner? I mean, to me, this is going to be a job split between a bunch of the Raiders players in that secondary. I mean, all eyes will go on Nate Hobbs. I get that people want Hobbs to be an outside corner, and hell, even Nate Hobbs probably wants to be an outside corner because that's where you're going to get paid more money. He's just been so much better in the slot, and I do believe, if it's not broken, don't fix it type of thing. You know what I mean? If it's not broken, don't fix it. Why am I going to move Nate Hobbs to the outside where he has struggled and he's played a lot better as inside? I mean, I'd say right now your number one outside corner might be Amik Robertson. That probably makes you a little bit nervous, doesn't it? And you're going to be relying on Jack Jones, maybe Tyler Hall plays in the slot. You kick out Nate Hobbs, but I'd say right now, all eyes are going to go on Nate Hobbs to be the number one corner. But your top outside guy is probably Amik. We'll find out, though. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. Dean, get a pick. Raiders struggled when Crosby wasn't on the field. Need another edge. Wilson is not cutting it. I mean, I agree that Tyree Wilson has definitely had his struggles this season, and, it's pretty frustrating considering the fact that you want the Raiders to finally be able to put some of these players together, and, you want these guys to be able to have some success, but you're not giving nearly enough credit to Malcolm Kuntz. I mean, Malcolm Kuntz, if you really watch the tape and you look at some of the numbers, I'm trying to find a tweet that I saw on Malcolm Kuntz and just how good he has been recently, because I remember I saw it and I was like, oh my Lord, those numbers are absolutely insane. I'm going to try to find it, and if I can't find it, I'm sorry, but Malcolm Kuntz has played at a very, very high level this season. We got to be able to give him his flowers. He's played at a high level. Here you go. This is according to PFF. Malcolm Kuntz over the past 3 weeks, okay? Over the past 3 weeks. A 22.7% pass rush win rate. That's fifth among all edges in the NFL. A 90.4 pass rush grade. Third behind only Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa. So, yes, higher than Max Crosby. And then 13 quarterback pressures, 1 sack, and 2 QB hits. To me, what you were seeing from Malcolm Kuntz is one thing that Raider fans have been begging for a long time. Give him a chance. The more reps he gets, he can show that he's a good athlete. But Kuntz has shown that he's a reliable edge, and he needs to start getting the credit. Let's go to Rebel. Lock Marshall out of the office. He's laughing at us. Is he?
I can see him right now. Marshall is, in fact, laughing at us. Right in our faces.
I'm telling you, Marshall is the number one talked about person that's not a Raiders player.
It probably goes Marcus Peters, Roderic Teamer, Marshall Green.
I like it.
All right. We're about to get into Marcus Peters replacements. Do you trust me?
I trust you.
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, most of that show should be good. Now, I don't want to do exactly what we did. Okay, I got you. All right, y'all. I know a lot of y'all have been asking about some potential replacements for Marcus Peters because now the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders have decided to move on from him, I mean, that's going to be a topic that we need to figure out, and it needs to be a topic that we're going to discuss. On top of that, though, I do want to get some names in here. I do want to get some names in here for a 50-50 raffle because I did get a few people. If anybody wants a chance to win some money today, $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. We're going to do a duck race at the very, very end of this one. Jeremy accidentally put the Mount Raidermore from Canada side picture up on screen. Zahn's here. All right, Zahn. This is Mount Raidermore from the Canada side. My question is, which one are you? Which one are you there, Zahn? Shout out to Jamari. Jamari Murray, you in. And then Eric Mendoza, also in. So right now we got 2 people in this race. If that's all we get, you guys are just going to compete for $20. However, we usually get a few more. Third from the left? I figured. Shout out to David Zahn, Mount Raidermore legend here.
The third one from the left, that's the one with the Bud Light between his legs.
Yeah, if you look really close, you can actually see him pinching the lime, too. It's pretty impressive. Would you drink a beer if somebody, I was going to say, if it was like, yes. If somebody handed you a beer and you had to use their ass cheeks as like the beer holder, would you do it?
I don't even know how to answer that question.
I was going to say, like, if somebody squeezed the lime with their butt cheeks, how much for you to drink? What's the super chat amount? David Zahn. What's up, Zahn? All right, we're getting off the rails here. Senior Steve says he shamed jersey number 24. I saw a lot of people saying that. Like, if you're going to rock 24, that comes with you got to wear that jersey with a lot of pride, man. And the fact that he wore 24 and didn't rock the pride, I mean, but that's how excited the nation was about Peters. Like, when you're Oakland-based, when you're born Raider, and, Peters was saying all the right things. He was a player that we talked about the entire offseason, and we talked about how much he wanted to be a Raider.
The amount of bonk in this.
Tough, man. It was tough. All right, let's go to aggressive Master Raider. Three bonks. Put me in at safety. I got more juice in me than Juice Man. I'll play on a ball boy salary. Oh, man. I'll tell you this. I got a little bit nervous how that was going to end. You read that. I got more juice in me than Juice Man. Who's Juice Man? Is that O.J. Simpson? Are you saying, is Marcus Peters on social media? Is he Juice Man or is he Jump Man? I don't know. Then I just saw at the very end there. I'll play on a ball boy salary. Holy shit. Sometimes after a tough loss, you need a good laugh. And you guys always make me laugh. But you know what, aggressive Master Raider? I'm glad that you're going to play on a ball boy salary. It's all that juice he's got in him, man. It's all that juice. Yeah, Juice Man, I'm pretty sure is his name on social media. So
Juice Box.
He's Juice Box guy. Juice Man. Wow. Unbelievable. All right, coming up here on today's show, I got some Marcus Peters replacements. I'm going to refresh my phone one more time. Again, if anybody wants to get in our 50-50 raffle, $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 for a chance to win a little bit of money, honey. You ready? All right, let's keep this thing going. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and today's Marcus Peters replacements video is presented by Panda Supps. And I asked Merbad, who owns Panda Supps, diehard Raider fan, I said, man, give me a code after that tough game against the Chiefs. He just said FKC. So if anybody wants to save 20% off on some of the best workout supplements in the game, use code FKC at pandasupps.com. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. So for those that do not know, Marcus Peters has been released by the Las Vegas Raiders after him and interim head coach Antonio Pierce got into a heated discussion before halftime in the Raiders' Week 12 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Then Peters decided to spend the entirety of the second half on the sideline wearing a beanie, pouting like a little baby, not participating with his team. So when I saw that go down, I was like, oh, man, obviously that was a really shitty situation. Then a report came out late on, it's either like Monday morning or late Sunday, that said the Las Vegas Raiders are expected to release Marcus Peters. We made a video on it, which now as it stands, here are the Raiders' corners on this team. You have Amik Robertson. You have Nate Hobbs in the slot, and then you got Jack Jones, who was just claimed off waivers, who's got a great responsibility or a great relationship with Antonio Pierce. Then you're also looking at Jacorian Bennett, who was a healthy scratch. Tyler Hall can play in the slot. The Las Vegas Raiders might even have to kick in Nate Hobbs as the outside corner and put Tyler Hall as the starter. But then you got Brandon Faison, who is still on IR, and I have no idea when or if he's going to be coming back anytime soon. Some other corners on the practice squad. Sam Webb is the top name that I look at because it flashes last season, showed that he was able to handle the Patrick Graham scheme and showed that he was going to go out there and give it his all. Cornell Armstrong, another player to keep in mind as well, as Troy Pride Jr. Sam Webb is a little bit more undersized. If they want to go with the longer, lanky corner, that's where I think they could potentially look at Troy Pride or Cornell Armstrong. With the fact that the Raiders decided to move on from Marcus Peters, and I know that we're not really talking about it too much on this show, but they're also decided to waive Roderic Teamer on top of that. So you lost a corner that was a starting corner on your team, then you lost a depth player at safety. So my question to you is this, and this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. What is your confidence level in the Raiders secondary as it stands right now? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident at all. 10, it's the best secondary in the NFL. My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. Right now, my confidence level in this Raiders secondary is a 6. I know that they have some good players. Luckily, the bye week is coming at the absolute perfect time with all this drama in the secondary. Maybe they decide to go out and add a free agent. We'll talk about a few names coming up here because I got 5 names to keep in mind. Maybe they're just going to promote somebody from within. But you have to figure it out because if you have any chance of making the playoffs, and not only just making the playoffs, if Antonio Pierce wants to prove that he's going to be the next head coach of this team, he's got to put it together this week. He's got to put it together next week, and the Raiders have to be ready to go against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 14 to make a real playoff run. Now, I also want to give a shout-out to some of the people that we banged during our Raiders-Chiefs watch party, and I love being able to have a good time on these shows. Shout out to our MVP, Sam On. Sam, I messaged you on YouTube, so I'm trying to get your address so I can send you the signed football that we got. Also, shout out to Paige Davis. Bill from Jersey sent in a 125. Mr. Scheffler sent in multiple bangs. Jason Williamson. Shout out to Raider Ron. My guy, Nico Laz. Your jersey just came in, actually. Dean Sharp got the party started. Patrick B., Mount Raidermore, and Justin Avgin, a member of the Silver and Black Hills. I'll tell you this right now. When we bang live on a show, it's like, man, it's the ultimate adrenaline rush. But I also know it's because the people that do that send in that 100, know that a lot of people around the nation watch this show and respect it because people watch the Raiders Report to sometimes get away from reality a little bit. And when you have this team, sometimes you need it a little bit more. Bottom line, appreciate all y'all. And if you want to see your name on a future show, join the Bang Gang when we go live. All right, so let's talk about here some potential Marcus Peters replacements. I have 5 corners that I would pick up the phone and I would give them a call and saying, hey, right now we need you in a little bit of a pinch. First name is Casey Hayward, and I know a lot of the nation brings up Hayward a lot in terms of cornerbacks because of how good he was on the Las Vegas Raiders back in 2021. He was playing in a Gus Bradley defense, which sure is the perfect defense for Hayward, and he knew it like the back of his hand and was signed to be that player coach. And I will admit, if the Raiders want to go man and if they want to be a very physical football team, I don't know if Casey Hayward is the best guy to keep in mind. However, though, if you do plan on running zone, and the Raiders ran quite a bit of zone yesterday against Kansas City, then I think one of the better zone corners in the NFL is Hayward because he doesn't try to do too much, and he goes out there and he can be that veteran leader, which the Raiders will be missing now without Peters. He can go out there and he can be that player coach. So to me, he's the best free agent cornerback available, and even though he hasn't played this season, he was with the Atlanta Falcons last year. He spent some time on some practice squads. I'm a big believer in Hayward because he can be that player coach. I'm not saying he's going to start for the Raiders by any stretch of the imagination, but for what the Raiders are losing from veteran leadership from Peters that they were hoping that they'd have, they need to be able to figure out a replacement for that, and I think Casey Hayward is a name to keep in mind. Let's go to another name here, and if anybody, I think this might be the most likely name that they try to go out and get. Yes, he is not a big outside corner, but Bryce Callahan does have some relationships with Champ Kelly, who is now the Raiders' interim general manager, because Callahan played on the Chicago Bears from 2015 to 2018, so he has those Kelly connections, and at that time, Kelly was a scout, he was a scout looking at teams for college football to be able to add him in, and Bryce Callahan was a player that he saw, went out, signed as a UDFA. He played with the Broncos, Chargers from 2019 to 2022, so he's got some AFC West experience. And if you're still looking for just a dude that you can insert into your lineup here, he's been, started plenty of games in his career. I want to say 31 games he started. He's 31 years old, started 56 games, but in 2022 was still able to put up a halfway decent number. The way that the Raiders go out and they add Bryce Callahan, in my personal opinion, is if they decide to kick Nate Hobbs as an outside corner, which then puts a little bit more pressure on only Tyler Hall to be your only nickel. So if that ends up happening, they say, hey, Nate, we need you to go to the outside. Watch out for Bryce Callahan. Maybe not so much to replace Marcus Peters, but to help replace some of that lost veteran leadership to help bolster that nickel cornerback room a little bit more. Coming up, I got 3 more free agent targets that I think the Raiders could look at if they are truly trying to replace Marcus Peters. But before I get into that, I got to show some love to today's sponsor, Panda Supps. And if anybody wants to get started with them, use code FKC for 20% off at pandasupps.com. Right now, the top 2 things that I recommend anybody to try, especially if you have a sweet tooth, and this is the worst time of the year for me because all I see is great tasting food all around me, and my sweet tooth is going nuts. I'm telling you this right now, try Panda Supps protein, whether you want to get your hands on their mint chocolate chip or their cinnamon toast crunch. Both are going to blow your freaking mind. And then on top of that, because my diet right now, I'll be honest with you, isn't as great as what it should be because sometimes that's what the holidays do to you. I struggle getting up in the morning and going to the gym. When I take a scoop of anything from Panda Supps, like their pre-workout, I just tried their brand new one, which is the Sinister one. It wakes me up. I can go tackle an incredible workout because I'm a person who needs a good routine. So when I wake up, I go to the gym, I have a better day at work, then I eat healthier when I get at home. Panda Supps can help you get those 2024 goals started in the right direction. So please go get started. Use code FKC, 20% off at pandasupps.com. That link's going to be available to you all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Let's keep it rolling here with some potential Marcus Peters replacements. If you want a long, lanky corner, I do think that Greedy Williams is an interesting player because he's a good athlete, but he has struggled to stay healthy, and he's just struggled in the NFL in general. When Greedy was first coming out of LSU, he was one of the corners that I loved the most because you can't deny that he has that athletic ability that you just simply can't teach. However, though, they already kind of have a little bit of a project player. Think of him as like a Jack Jones. Got a lot of talent, but sometimes he's a little bit of a knucklehead. He was on the Eagles practice squad this season. He was selected 46th overall, second round in the 2019 NFL draft. But if you are looking for that long, lanky corner, that's where Greedy can step up in here. He's 6'2". He's 185 pounds. He does need to add a little bit of meat to his bones. He needs to be able to stay in football shape. But if you're looking for just a high upside type of pick because you believe in Antonio Pierce and you believe in Pierce to be able to go out there and say, hey, I can make anything out of anybody because teams are going to play for me, players are going to play for me because I am that former player and I'm that coach now, I think Greedy Williams is a name to keep in mind. Let's go to another name here, and currently he is on the Jaguars practice squad, which means if the Raiders were to go out and get him, they would have to add him to the active roster. I can never get this. Either way, corner for the Jacks right now in the practice squad. I literally practiced it before the show. Oruwariye, I think that's how you go with it. He's a physical guy, a big outside corner. I'll admit, he's not that great in coverage. He's more of just a run stopper. If you need to bring a guy in on a blitz, he's not afraid to tackle. So if you want to be able to add a corner that kind of like the complete opposite of Peters, that's not going to be afraid to put his nose in there. He's not going to be able to afraid to go out there and hit somebody. The other reason why I kind of like this pick is because Oruwariye could also add a little bit of flexibility to your special teams room, because he does have that ability to be a tackler, and the fact that also you lost Roderic Teamer could be just an interesting option. I admit, though, the reason why I don't know how I feel about it is because he is on a practice squad, and I don't know if he deserves to be just promoted right away to the active roster. I got another name here for Marcus Peters replacements that is a free agent. It's Jarren Williams, and he last played on the Lions in 2022. But the reason why he's on this list is because he has those Patrick Graham connections. He played on the Giants from 2020 to 2021. So only 2 seasons, but still 2 seasons where Graham was the defensive coordinator. And he started in 2 games in 2021 while appearing in 6. If you're at this point in the season and you know that you only have 5 games remaining, right? You want somebody that's got some familiarity. I'm looking for either somebody that knows Patrick Graham's system or a veteran that I believe I can bring in and I can be a plug-and-play player, or can be a reliable person to be that player coach, because that was one of the reasons why you decided to go out, and it's one of the reasons why you decided to sign Marcus Peters in the beginning. From a career standpoint, though, 10 games played, 19 tackles, 1 PBU, 5'11", 190 pounds. Jarren Williams, I think from a talent standpoint, is the least talented out of everybody that I just mentioned, but because of those connections with Patrick Graham, that's why he makes the list. So here's your opportunity to make the call. Should the Raiders sign a corner to help replace Marcus Peters? That's the multi-million-dollar question. The Raiders saving about $1.5 million by moving on from Peters due to incentives, so you can use that $1.5 million, and you could potentially invest that into one of these corners that I mentioned. So one more time here before I go. The top 5 Marcus Peters replacements that I see right now in the free agent market / on a practice squad is Casey Hayward, Bryce Callahan, Greedy Williams, Amani Oruwariye, and then Jarren Williams. If you don't already know, I want you to hit that subscribe button, because anytime Raiders news happens, Marcus Peters released, we got a video on it. Roderic Teamer released, we got a video on it. And if the Raiders do go out and if they sign anybody, whether it's a Marcus Peters replacement or not, we will be making a video here on the Raiders Report. Should the Raiders sign a corner, yes or no? My answer to this is yes. I want them to add somebody. Now, sure, you might be able to promote somebody from the practice squad, but to me, you have 2 weeks. Like, this is the perfect week for you to go out, add a corner, and add someone to that competition level. Like, to me, the Raiders, it can't hurt to go out and add some extra guys to the competition. Here's the week to do it.
The only reason I would say no is because I think the guys that you would want, the first guys that you listed, Greedy Williams, Bryce Callahan, who was the very first one? Casey Hayward. I think those guys are going to cost a little bit of money, and you don't know if it's going to be a similar situation to Marcus Peters, where these guys, they haven't played this year. We don't really know how good a shape they're going to be in. Obviously, you can bring them in for workouts, but a lot of veteran guys, like a Casey Hayward, like a Bryce Callahan, they don't want to come in for a workout. They're like, you're either going to sign me or you're not.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether or not you take the risk on those guys, spend that money, and then also just like how they feel about a Sam Webb, a Tyler Hall, guys that they already have on their roster. That's why I'm leaning towards no. I mean, I could see yes, but
yeah, I hear you. I think you can look at it a bunch of different ways. Like, Sam Webb was more of a McDaniels and Ziegler guy.
Yeah.
I like Cornell Armstrong. I also like Troy Pride Jr. Like, they're both long, lanky corners, but they don't have the experience. Like, they don't have that veteran leadership that the Raiders cornerback room, let's face it, is lacking right now.
Yeah.
Like, Amik Robertson, 4th year. Nate Hobbs, 3rd year. Tyler Hall, I mean, I want to say he's in his third year. I want to say that. Brandon Faison, He's not even healthy. Ja'Cory Bennett, rookie. Like, Marcus Peters was signed to be a vet. I think you make good points.
I think Senior Steve hit the nail on the head. I think the thing that they messed up most on is choosing Marcus Peters over Rock Ya-Sin.
I mean, I think Rock Ya-Sin is a better fit for like what they try to do in terms of being physical.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think maybe Peters has the higher upside, but with Rock, you know that he kind of fits your scheme already with Patrick Graham. He had a decent year.
I mean, the problem with Rock Ya-Sin is his inability to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Like, that's been his problem. I think he's been a really good fit in Baltimore. Like, he fits what that defense wants to do in terms of being tough-nosed. But I'll also say, like, I don't think many people anticipated Peters to act the way that he has acted over the past 3 weeks, considering how much of a Raider he was supposed to be.
Let me ask you this. First round comes around.
Yep.
Raiders decide not to move up. They can either choose between Michael Penix or Travis Hunter from Colorado. Who are you choosing? Raiders, maybe they have like the 8th pick in the draft, 7th pick in the draft. You can either get Travis Hunter or Michael Penix.
I mean, I would take Michael Penix over Travis Hunter, but you need a quarterback. Like, I know that Travis Hunter is going to be a good player. I think
Travis Hunter could be the best corner in the NFL.
He might be. I don't know if he's going to be the best corner coming out of this year's draft, though.
Type Penix or type Hunter?
I mean, here's the thing. If the draft were to happen today, the Raiders would be at 11, which they could potentially climb up the board to get a quarterback. And I saw somebody down there saying, Mitch said you don't trade up for Stroud because it's going to cost too much, which I hear you. Like, C.J. Stroud's been an incredible player, but, also on top of that, the Texans did a great job this offseason building around him. Like, one of the biggest reasons why I was not confident in the Raiders to trade up for C.J. Stroud wasn't so much for Stroud. It was more because I didn't believe in Josh McDaniels.
My question is mute because somebody did correct me in the chat. He won't be eligible for next year, until next year.
Oh, MDM, like, I'll absolutely own it. I still think because, if you had to trade up to number 2, what my biggest worry was if the Raiders would have traded up, I don't know if they would have taken C.J. Stroud because we talked about it back in March that Dave Ziegler likes Stroud and, McDaniels like Bryce Young. The reason why I am okay with the Raiders trading up for a quarterback this season is because we don't have McDaniels. Like, that was more of the reasons why I was worried. We're going to give up all this picks for a guy that I never believed in as a head coach. I mean, it's a scary, scary slope there. So I hear you, though. It would be nice to have C.J. Stroud because he looks like he's the real deal, man. He looks like a top 10 quarterback already. Yeah, he looks good, man. He looks good. All right, y'all. We got 633 people here watching.
We have one more thing we have to do.
I see Stan and then Mr. Jasper just sent in their 10s here, so they're in. So right now, winner would get $40. Right? No. No, $20. 4 people in the race. Winner would get $20. Is that how that math checks out?
I think so.
I think that's how that math checks out. Opportunity to double your money. Opportunity to double your money. We'll see. Oh, man. I mean, today's been a very interesting day. Also, if anybody wants to get more questions, comments on hashtag Raiders or Super Chat.
I think I saw earlier Aggressive Master Raider was saying that he would grab Penix.
Yeah, probably with a name like that. Jay Silk, Bo Nix passed the eye test last week. Bo Nix has passed the eye test a lot of weeks, but he's in a very simple offense.
I'll be going to Vegas this weekend for my bachelor party.
Okay.
And I'm going to be at the Pac-12 championship game on Friday night.
I'm listening.
I will be myself evaluating Penix and Nix to see who is the right fit. Will Penix fit in the Raiders?
You're so dumb.
I'll let you know. If you're in Vegas and you want to buy me a drink, just hit me up.
Also, Sam on, you in. Also, Sam, I'm going to message you here. I need your address. So, Sam, if you could just message me your address real quick. That way I can send you the Week 12 MVP football You were the MVP. I don't even know if we said it yesterday. I don't even remember. We had a little bit too much Hennessy yesterday. So, but Sam, just message me your address real quick. That way I can send you the MVP football.
Now the suits seem kind of effed up.
Somebody said Michael Penix is not pro ready. I mean, I'll tell you this: the more and more I watch Aidan Daniels, the more and more I'm starting to like him. Like, he is a quarterback. He is a quarterback that's shown me that he is getting better and better and better. And I mean, is he the Heisman favorite? He's fun to watch, man. I'll tell you that. He's fun to watch. Right now, if I had to pick the 4 quarterbacks that I'd be okay with, like, I'm not. To me, it is Drake May number 1, Caleb Williams 2, and then I can make an argument for Michael Penix Jr. I can also make an argument for Aidan Daniels. Like,
yeah.
It just depends what type of offense you're going to run. If you're going to go more of a spread offense with your new head coach, offensive coordinator, it's Michael Penix. If you're going to go more of a run-heavy offense, kind of like the way the Baltimore Ravens run their offense, where, yes, when Lamar Jackson needs to be a runner, he can be a runner, but he also can beat you with his arm. That's the type of QB I think Aidan Daniels is. So,
Adrian Peterson.
Who?
Adrian Peterson, a guy who could beat you with his arm.
Yikes. I didn't know exactly where you were going with that one, and now I get it. I get it now. Kobe, you in. Kobe Carson, you in. Right now, winner would get $35. 10 to win, $35. Final call after this. I don't know if we're going to stay live for too much longer. We covered all the breaking news. I do want to keep on working on maybe like the Roderic Teamer thing, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess.
Yeah. Or do we just do that for live tomorrow?
Yeah, you're probably right. Probably right. It looks like Sam on wants another entry. So 10 to win, 40 is where we are at. 10 to win, 40. Final call. Again, if anybody wants to get those questions, comments in, hashtag Raiders or Super Chat, more than happy to answer any that we got here.
Let me see if there's any good hashtag Raiders questions.
Yeah, let's go to them.
Oh, from my guy Jay Silk.
Is there any possible way a new head coach keeps AP on staff? How many just win babies? To me, whoever the new head coach is, they probably will try to keep Antonio Pierce on staff. But the real question then becomes, does Antonio Pierce want to remain on the staff? It's kind of like the exact same conversation we had with Rich Bisaccia. Like, Bisaccia felt like that he earned that job and that he didn't want to stay anymore and he, wanted to go somewhere else. I don't know what the decision is going to be made. To me, though, I would keep Antonio Pierce on the staff. I don't know if he gets that opportunity. Let's go to Die Hard Raider fan. Mitch, what is your opinion on AP being our head coach if the Raiders lose to the Vikings after? Again, I think Antonio Pierce is already showing you that he is doing the right things with this team. Like, the Raiders played turnover-free football yesterday. Awesome. The Raiders played penalty-free football yesterday. Awesome stuff. Are the Raiders trending in the right direction underneath Antonio Pierce? Yes, they are. However, what makes a good head coach a normal head coach, I think, is that ability to be able to make those in-game adjustments, because anybody can prepare for the entire week. But you saw yesterday against the Chiefs, Andy Reid and company was, I've been there, I've done that. And they were able to make the adjustments. Antonio Pierce, unfortunately was unable to do that. But the only way you're keeping Antonio Pierce as the Raiders head coach is if you show enough improvement and put this team in a winning position at the end of the season. If they keep losing football games, no, it's not going to be Antonio Pierce. What up, Cloud? Caleb Williams or Michael Penix Jr.? I'm taking Caleb Williams. I think he's the number 2 best quarterback in this year's draft. Again, I'm a Drake May believer. I've always been a Drake May believer, and I'm going to continue to stay on that one. Ethan Klein, we trade Devontae Adams for Sauce Gardner. I'd be pretty mad about that. I think Sauce is a good corner. I really do. But I also think he's one of the more overrated corners in the NFL.
I honestly think,
I don't think the Jets do it.
Yeah. I was going to say.
I don't think that the Jets do it.
Because, Devontae Adams is a wide receiver that's going to be on the wrong side of 30. Sauce is a corner who, yes, he's having a little bit of a sophomore slump, but was an amazing corner last year. And he's, 2024?
Again, like to me, Sauce Gardner, he's already had 2 years underneath his belt. I would rather take 2 first-round picks.
Who wins this trade? LV or NYJ? Who wins that trade?
I mean, you're getting a young corner. You're getting one of the best young corners in the league, but I do think that Sauce is as good as what he is because of how good that Jets defensive line is. Like, the Jets defensive line gets after the QB.
But I mean,
quarterback's got to make quick decisions.
But he was better last year with a worse defensive line.
Oh, I don't disagree, but I also think it's people are getting more tape on them. Like, teams are starting to get a little bit more physical.
Sancho says the Jets. PG says the Jets win that trade. Taino says the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, I can make a legitimate argument for both of those. To me, though, if you're going to get the quarterback of your future, which is the most important thing that the Raiders need to be able to figure out, you got to figure out your quarterback of your future. I want the quarterback of my future in 2024 to be thrown to Davante Adams. I want him to be thrown to Davante.
But it's like, does Davante fit the window of when the Raiders will compete?
I don't know, but you already paid him. You already paid Davante Adams for 2024. I would want more than just Sauce. I would. And I don't think that you're going to get more than just Sauce. But I also want Davante to be there for my young quarterback.
And Sin says 2 first-round picks are better. It depends on who's drafting for the Raiders. Because I made that argument to Mitch. Would you trade Max Crosby for 4 first-round picks? And he said no. Because if I told you Max Crosby for Cleveland Ferrell, Jonathan Abrams, Damon Arnett, and Alex Leatherwood, would you make that trade?
I mean, here's the thing. If the Raiders were offered 4 first-round picks for Crosby, they would trade him. I really think that they would, right? I mean, I know what Max is to this team, but 4 first-round picks.
What about 3?
I mean, I think the starting asking price is 3 first-rounders, but then again, the only way that you're trading Max Crosby for 3 first-round picks is if you're then going to use those 3 first-round picks and go get a Drake May or Caleb Williams, which it's a tough situation, man. And I agree with Devin Smith. If you trade Davante Adams, the Raider Nation's going to riot. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one, man. All right, we got a few more people here in this duck race, so let me just get some names here going. I see the Great Tuna got another entry. Aaron Yanez in, and then Victor God in, and then Elias Guzman
Lafayette
in.
The Raiders could have made a move for Lamar Jackson this offseason, and they chose not to.
Correct. That's the other thing. You chose Jimmy Garoppolo over Lamar Jackson.
Now, the Ravens might have been a moot point. The Ravens might have matched whatever offer it was because they put him on the non-exclusive franchise tag, which meant any team could offer him a massive contract.
Yep.
But the Ravens had a chance to basically match that contract.
Yeah, but you still decided to give Jimmy Garoppolo $77 million. To me, if you would have told me $30 million guaranteed to Jimmy G, which is what they gave him, or I could have used that $33 million guaranteed and could have just gone out and paid Lamar Jackson whatever the hell the Ravens paid him, I would have at least made that offer. I'm paying Lamar Jackson $50 million a year before I decide to pay Jimmy Garoppolo $28 million.
But, Mitch, he doesn't fit in a McDaniels scheme.
Who?
Lamar?
Yeah. Neither does Jimmy Garoppolo, apparently. I don't know, man. All right, Jeremy, I just sent you all the names. Final call here for our 50-50 raffle. We have 12 in, so 10 to win $60 is as it stands right now.
That's
and then
not too shabby.
Got a super chat from Jay Roy. What up, Jay Roy? Again, for those of you that are just tuning in, the Las Vegas Raiders have moved on from Marcus Peters and Roderic Teamer. Both Marcus Peters and Roderic Teamer no longer members here of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Jay Roy.
Not surprised. What up, Jay Roy? Mitch, why do you want Pierce gone next season? A new GM, coordinator, and QB, yes. But getting rid of Pierce could lead to Josh McDaniels 2.0. I mean, sure, you could hire a worse guy. I mean, again, though, I don't think that there was a worse person that you could have hired than Josh McDaniels. That's why I was so against McDaniels in the first place, because to me, the only person that's recommending McDaniels is somebody who doesn't really fully understand how bad of a leader he truly was. But the reason why I want a new head coach is because I think Antonio Pierce is a great dude. and I think he's a great leader. But that doesn't make you the best head coach. Like, I think Andy Reid is one of the best head coaches in the league. Like, I think Mike McDaniel is a great head coach. The Raiders need to be able to find that guy that can do all of those things. Now, I'll admit, if the Raiders make the playoffs, then yes, I think that you decide to keep Antonio Pierce, but then you got to be able to bring in the right offensive coordinator, and Antonio Pierce then has to trust that OC to be able to go out and get the quarterback that he needs to build his team around. Like, everybody, I want Antonio Pierce to be the next head coach. I want him to succeed. I love everything about him. But to me, is he the most qualified for the position? Is he ready for the position? Only time is going to tell that. He's got 5 more weeks to prove that he's the right guy for the job. If he can't do it, he's not going to be it. Because I think if the Raiders had a different head coach yesterday, I wonder how that game goes a little bit differently. I'm not saying it does go differently, but I do wonder, can we find a coach that has that ability to make those in-game adjustments? Because to me, that's something that the Raiders have been missing for a very, very long time.
How many firsts would you trade for Andy Reid?
To take Andy Reid away from Kansas City, I would obviously want to know. I'd obviously want to know how many years left he has. But here's the other thing.
Guaranteed at least 8 years.
8 years? And you're giving up at least 2 first-round picks for Andy Reid, which I don't know. I don't think the Chiefs do it, though. Like, the Chiefs aren't sending you Andy Reid. If the Raiders want to take somebody from that Chiefs hiring circle, his name's like Blymeyer or something like that, he's a guy that I would definitely consider as the next offensive coordinator. Yeah. Dutta says, how much for Reid and Mahomes? 20 first-round picks doesn't get it done. Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't do it.
20 first-round picks and your firstborn son would not get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I know I talked about Justin Fields a lot the other day, and I actually had a source reach out to me over the weekend after they saw the fact that I put out that video on Fields, and they said, Fields coming to the Raiders isn't impossible. Like, Champ Kelly likes Justin Fields a lot. Now, will the Raiders give up a first-round pick for Fields? No, that's not going to happen. I was told that the Raiders wouldn't give up a second-round pick for Justin Fields. The real question, though, is could they get him for anything less than that? I don't know if the Bears sell for anything less than that. But I was told that Champ Kelly does like Justin Fields a lot. He's part of the regime that drafted him, man. We'll see.
I think they would give him a first.
Huh?
I think they would give him a first.
You think the Raiders would give up a first for Fields? Oh, no way. I'd be extremely upset.
No way?
I think any team willing to give up a first-round pick for Justin Fields, if you're drafting in the top 20, I think is a very foolish move.
Oh.
If you're a team like, I don't know, it's got like the 29th pick, I don't know why you're going to be going after a quarterback at that point. I just don't view Justin Fields as a quarterback to give up a first-round pick for. He hasn't shown anything. He hasn't shown nearly enough. Somebody said, what about Baker Mayfield? He'll be a free agent if you want him. But I don't think Baker Mayfield's the answer either. You got to find a young quarterback. You got to be able to go in that direction. Like, I'd rather you draft Jaden Daniels. I'd rather you draft Jaden Daniels in the second round than trade a first-round pick for Justin Fields. If you got to take Jaden Daniels in the first, then that becomes a very interesting situation. But I don't know how many NFL teams out there trade a first for Justin Fields. Some teams are going to believe in him.
I think more teams than you think.
Fair. Maybe I'm just not that high on him then.
I think the Falcons would.
Well, again, that's like the perfect scheme for him to be able to go to. But
I mean, depending on who the next Raiders head coach is, it could be the perfect scheme for him as well.
Sure. But you also don't have a team. Like, why am I going to put Justin Fields in the exact same situation that he was just in Chicago when he was in Chicago?
It's way better. You have Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
Those 3 targets are better than the top 3 targets for the Bears.
I don't disagree. Still need
the offensive line's better than the Bears.
Not run blocking. The Raiders' run blocking offensive line, it still might be better than the Bears. The Raiders' run blocking offensive line struggles.
The Bears' O-line is bad.
You need a running back. The Raiders don't have a back. Like, I'm not.
I mean, there's plenty of free agent backs.
A lot of good free agent backs. I hear you. I do. But I'm not giving up a first-round pick for Justin Fields. I don't think he's good enough.
You might not, but Champ Kelly?
Champ Kelly better not either. I'll tell you that. We got one more here that I got to send you, and then we're going to do this. Adriano Martinez. 13 names in. Lucky number 13, which means winner's going to get $65. And because I can't send you 65 because it's lame, winner's going to get 69. Got to do it. Got to do it. Winner's getting $69 here. 13 racers in. The good old-fashioned duck race. 1 minute on the clock. Winner, $69. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's get it going here. All right, out to an early lead. It actually looks like Mr. Adriano Martinez himself. I want to say Sam On's in the Trump outfit costume. I don't know what that is. Tuna, he's just got some cucumbers over his eyeballs. He's just moving. Sam On, Elias Guzman. Watch out for Aaron Giannis. You know I'm surprised didn't get in? Nico Laz. Yep, Nico Laz did not get in this one. Also, I think a first-timer in Stan. Stan's got a hell of an outfit on. I'll tell you that right now. Kobe Carson, though. I mean, right now this is a Sam On race. Sam On starting to drop back a little bit. Watch out for Aaron Giannis. Again, winner of this one gets $69. Tuna starting to pull in the lead here. 13 seconds to go. Adriano Martinez started in the lead and then started to fall back here a little bit. Watch out for Sam On. Yesterday's MVP. Is he about to get a dub? It looks like it is. Sam On. Hey, karma, man. It's a good thing.
I love caramel.
Dude, I'll tell you what. I could crush some caramel right now. Sam On. You are the winner, my friend. Congrats. I'm just going to send you $69, and it's just going to say congrats. So if anybody asks, I wear khakis. All right, y'all. We started today's show at 81 subs away. How close are we now? 81 subs away from 156,000 subscribers. I don't know if we'll get there by the end of today's show because I know a lot of people that watch these shows are
57 away.
Typically subscribe. Yeah, we're 57 away now. But, man, for those that don't know, we will be live tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, unless any more breaking news happens around the Las Vegas Raiders. But we decided to go live today because that's what we do anytime breaking news happens. Raiders release Marcus Peters. They also release Roderic Teamer. If any new information comes out around the silver and black, we will be making a video about it. And if it's big enough, we will go live. Next time that you'll see Jugs and I tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Enjoy the rest of your day. I don't anticipate that we'll go live later today, so just keep that in mind. We went live a little bit earlier. From me, from Jeremy Chugs, enjoy the rest of your day.